The world is changing super fast in television, but televisions haven't kept up. So Sky Glass is incredible innovation. It's all the technology that Comcast and Sky have been working on for over a decade. And it comes to life. All the wires are gone, all the boxes are gone. You can talk to it. It tells you what you want to see. It shows it to you right away. You can switch from music to exercise to television to news. It's an amazing product, and I give great credit to the team here at Sky for their innovation.
Is this an offensive move or a defensive move?
I think it's offensive because Sky has been a leader for long before Comcast was lucky enough to be involved in changing what television's all about. And obviously with streaming and the internet, you don't need a satellite dish. The ability to have two-way communications and to eventually change the actual viewing experience using all sorts of new technologies that come along from the cloud. So you want to be connected to that cloud, but you want to do it simply and have a company you trust bring it to you, and that's what Sky can do.
This is, of course, taking Sky into a new front against businesses like LG and Samsung, with which it's never competed in the past.
Yeah, I look less about trying to displace those companies and more bring together what Sky can do. And we're going to be able to license our technology all over the world. We're pleased to have Foxtel joining on this launch date. And so it's a journey we're on, but it's more than just the actual physical television. In fact, that's what's so great about the product is the physical television is maybe the smartest in the world, but it's what's behind it that makes that claim so true. And that we can do with others over time as well.
Now, elsewhere in the media universe and telecoms universe, AT&T has just spun off its entertainment arm, Warner Media. You appear to be going in the opposite direction and more deeply integrating distribution and entertainment.
I think each company has a different strategy, so I can't speak to them, but our DNA, my dad founded Comcast, was about making television better back in Tupelo, Mississippi in 1963. And that's what we have been doing from 2 or 3 channels of television to what you get today with literally infinite choices. AT&T started in a different place. And so the culture and the fit, it can be different in different companies. So for us, we're having a record year, even despite all the headwinds of COVID and pubs and clubs being shut for part of the year, sport being suspended. Today we've resumed. We have all the Sky customers are back more than ever. Globally, our company, I think, will have our best year in history, and there's real momentum. So it's working. You can't be sure about the future, but we are trying real hard with innovation and new products, and that's what today's announcement's all about.
What are your observations on how the wider Comcast group, how it traded through the pandemic? I mean, obviously life was very difficult for the Universal Parks and Resorts, for example.
That's a great question, and that's what was our biggest, 70%, 75% of our problem was one business, theme parks. What gave me great confidence was how much pent-up demand there is to have fun and get back and enjoy life. And I'm here visiting this week. I am experiencing that in London, which is very different than parts of the United States right now. And that's what's happened with theme parks. As they've opened safely and thoughtfully around the world, there's more demand than there was even before the pandemic, and that's without a lot of international travel.
Now, one very significant development during the pandemic was that you released Trolls World Tour, and that went straight to streaming rather than a cinematic release. Does that spell the death knell for traditional cinema operators?
I definitely hope not and don't believe it has. In fact, this week, last week, James Bond world premiere was here in London. The results look stellar over the weekend for movie theaters. Again, there's something magical. My wife and I would go to the movies each week for the last 30 plus years. It's what film can be in its greatest form. That said, as a new generation comes along, as great devices like Sky Glass come to your home with the home sound and theater capability, giving consumers options and choices, a night out, date night, or stay home and be with the family, or some of both. And having the capability for those films to appear in new windows is what we wanted to experiment with. COVID forced that conversation, but I don't believe by any means that theaters won't be a big part of our future.
Now, another big recent development is that you've just entered a joint venture with Viacom CBS, Sky Showtime, being rolled out across 20 European countries. Are there more tie-ups like that in the pipeline?
I think a lot of companies look at and have always partnered with other companies while they're doing their own thing. And so in the case of Sky Showtime, we clearly are very happy here in the UK and Ireland and Germany and Italy, Sky's core markets. But there's a larger Europe, and if you add up all of Viacom, CBS, Showtime, NBC, Universal, and Sky, that's a lot of great content. And in this new form to go to markets where we heretofore have not been core, we want to go there in a streaming mode, maybe someday using Sky Glass as a vehicle. It made a lot of sense to tie up with each other and try something like this.
Now, we're approaching the 3rd anniversary of Comcast winning the takeover battle for Sky. What's surprised you about the Sky business the most since you actually got your hands on the business?
Well, we are thrilled that we made the deal. Brexit happened, and there was a lot of uncertainty during that period. And then, of course, COVID happened, and it disrupted Sky's business as usual. What I'm most surprised is how resilient and how the brand of Sky and the ingenuity of the management and the company's operations allowed Sky to thrive. Sky News, a trusted, maybe the most trusted source of news during this important period for people to figure out what was happening with COVID and other world events. So no surprise, but a pleasant reassurance that Sky's business is solid and was ripe for the next chapter. And so about 3 years ago, we had a management offsite, and the team from Sky said, we want to show you something we're working on. And I love to see new products, and they showed us Glass in a very rough form. And we moved some folks from Comcast onto the Glass team. We have plenty of Sky people helping with other projects like Peacock in the States for NBC. And that collaboration brings us to today. And the product is, I believe, the best in the world. And that is what Sky is known for. It's what attracted us to Sky. And I'm so pleased we are together.